cross our fingers. And we're back, and we're live with Rachael Barenbaum on Pub Day. Wait, where's your crown, Rachael? You had a crown. A picture of Rachael on a mighty blaze somewhere with a crown, I think.
Yes, Whitney Scherer made it.
Oh God, the folks, I'm one of those folks, but they're so creative. And I was like, I saw all these emails and all this celebrating, and I'm like, I can't answer all these emails and also prepare, but I didn't want to miss anything. Anyway, welcome back to A Mighty Blaze. It's Pub Day Tuesday, and next up is Rachael Barenbaum. And in case you forgot the name of her book, it's A Bend in the Stars. It's all there. And once again, I'm your host, Robin Kall of Reading with Robin, on behalf of A Mighty Blaze. Yeah, those tulips are from Wicked Tulip Flower Farm. And when you can safely cross the border, you must come, because it is the happiest place in Rhode Island. So congratulations. Rachael, thank you. And let me give you Rachael's bio. We spoke like what, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago?
Yeah, a few weeks ago about A Mighty Blaze.
Yeah, I think we spoke about 2 inches ago. That's kind of how long is it on? Rachael Barenbaum, again, happy Pub Day, paperback Pub Day. Rachael,
thank you.
Welcome. This is Rachael's debut novel. It's A Bend in the Stars and has been named New York Times Summer Reading Selection and a Barnes & Noble Discover Great New Writer Selection. It's also a Boston Globe bestseller. Rachael is a prolific writer and reviewer for the LA Review of Books, the Tel Aviv Review of Books, and Dead Darlings. She's a graduate of Grub Street's Novel Incubator, and in a former life was a hedge fund manager and a spin instructor. She has degrees from Harvard in business and literature and philosophy. She lives in Brookline, and it's the big day, Tuesday, May 12th. A Bend in the Stars is out in paperback. Don't forget to tell your book club to put this one on their list if they haven't already, because it's a must. And visit RachelBarenbaum.com. Follow her and like her and comment everywhere. So it looks a little different than last year, but here we are celebrating Pub Day. You had 2 gorgeous covers. Yeah, 2 gorgeous covers and a little different. But what, and it's also your debut novel. So it's got to be really interesting of like what the expectation might have been when the hardcover came out last year, then what it's like when the paperback comes out anyway. And of course, now the paperback's out now, but this is just like the way life is. So I think I'm going to stop saying that it's a pandemic and we're sheltering in place. This is just life. Right?
Sadly, yeah.
So how have you been? What's new?
Yeah, what's new? Well, thank you so much. I'm a huge fan, and I cannot believe the people you've been having on your, I'm going to call it your show, your spotlights. It's so impressive. I love your interviews. So thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Fun, Rachael. I definitely like to have fun. And I think that what the readers love, and I hear it all the time, is they just love seeing an author talking about whatever being real. And a lot of times they're enjoying, seeing them in their natural habitat, which is the background of your books. I remember we talked about that. Like, yours looks really good. I tried to do that with Reading with Robin, and I looked like I was stuck in this like Reading with Robin vortex of like my head. You look great. That is like the perfect.
Thank you. So my sister taught me how to do this. We were actually at our Passover Seder by Zoom, right? And she said, why don't you use Snap Camera? And I was like, I didn't know you could build really fun backgrounds. So I downloaded Snap Camera and I've been playing with it. And so I get really fun backgrounds like this.
There's nothing like sisters. My sister also made me one of those for Reading with Robin. And it didn't look good on mine, so I just stuck with my step and repeat, but I love it. Yeah, sisters are the best. And yeah, the Passover Zooming feels like it was so long ago, because now we're up to the graduation Zooms and birthday Zooming. And it was actually a really beautiful Seder, just us, even though I missed everybody. It was a lot less work. Right? I mean, but it was a long time ago. So what have you been hearing the book's been out for a year. And again, go to rachelbarenbaum.com. I just love the way they did the new cover. I mean, your covers are always great, but it's really dazzling when you go to Rachel's website and you can see them next to each other. It was really, really cool, and it's important to stand out. So what are your hopes for the paperback? You're welcome. And getting a whole new shelf life and just reaching so many readers who are picking for their doubling up in book clubs and want to read over the summer, whether they're outside or at the beach or in a hammock or whatever it is. I feel like there's a lot more time to read, and it's exciting to be able to bring all these titles to everybody.
Yeah. So, I mean, the feedback has always been, as I was out on tour with the hardback, people love the book, but it's expensive to buy a hardback. And so I had so many people come up to me and say, as soon as it's in paperback, we're reading it for our book club. Our library's ordering, you can do book club in a bag and you walk out with 10 copies. I love, right? So many people. So I'm really seeing a huge push from book clubs, and I love it because I also get to go into people's homes, and I'm hearing so many, personal stories, and people want to know, they tell me about their own history, family history coming from Russia. The book is set in 1914 Russia, and it's about a family, ostensibly a scientist racing Einstein to prove relativity, but a family asking, is it time to run? Do we run from the anti-Semitism and pogroms? So, I'm really looking forward to, now that the paperback is out, all these people who've contacted me to do book clubs and they want me to join them and everything. I can't wait. I think it's going to be really fun.
Did you keep a list? Like when people say to me, I'm going to get in touch or whatever, I'm like, what's your email? I'm a list taker. Like, we'll let you know. Don't worry about it. Up. I will be in touch with you. Because, and you're right. I mean, there is book clubs love to know, same with the libraries. They just, I understand it's really beautiful when the hardcover comes out and shelves are lined with them. But I kind of feel like if everyone would just have their books come out in paperback, like everyone, it would just, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Nobody's asking me for my opinion in marketing or the way books are published, but you want them to be accessible. And I love hearing that book clubs, there are book clubs who will only read paperbacks. I hear from them. And people ask me this question, why isn't it in paper? Or why did they, are they ever going to? Or I'm like, I don't have magic answers, but you can go check on some, they'll tell you when it's coming out.
Right.
But it is exciting because there's so many book clubs. I don't know statistically, I've seen numbers and, I have my own sense of what I think, but there are just so many. So it's like the best way to reach a lot of readers. And our own Jenna Blum, who's watching, just kicked it with Those Who Save Us and the book clubs. And I love, it's your book, baby. It's your baby.
Yes.
Like, if it were mine, I would feel the need to just share it with everybody.
I know. You feel a little bit like, have people heard enough from me today on Twitter and Instagram? But it's like, I'm so excited. The book is out there. So much work and sweat and blood and tears went into this book. And the whole tour.
Rachel, if you tell people there's blood and tears and sweat, they're going to have to leave the book outside for a week and a half to get all the stuff off. Don't blood, sweat.
It's clean. It's clean. Onto my computer, there were tears. There's still tears on my computer.
It's funny because books came today, and I'm like, okay, do I clean them off? I know I'm not, and I'm like, but they're books. I do leave them, but I'm like, what's in there? Can I open it?
Right. Give it 3 days.
So annoying. So visit rachelbarenbaum.com and you can learn all about book club information, and then people can send you a message if your book club is picking it. It is, just even meeting with book clubs, and some authors have driven and, you do all that. And then there are the FaceTime meetups. But now, since this is like the new normal, I think people are, even I would offer no, really, the author's happy to do that, and people get embarrassed or they don't want to ask or whatever. But now it's like you're sort of living, and so your book club can get to meet with the author. Really, what is better than that?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
and I love hearing. it helps me, I think, be a better writer when I hear what readers liked. When I hear their questions, what they, are hung up on, because I know when I'm writing a book, what I want people to be thinking about, what I'm thinking about, right? And so if my readers are coming to me with something a little bit different, I'm wondering, So, the issue of in A Bend in the Stars in particular of survival and when do you run, right? This was really what was driving a lot of, my thinking as I wrote the book. And then, but I have a lot of readers who come to me worried that there's going to be science, too much science, because it's about the race to prove relativity and Einstein.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's all very understandable. I do not have any trouble with the science. Yeah, don't get scared. Don't get scared. It is funny though, because people also want to learn something or they want to hear about the research or how you work that in, but it's, it's nothing to be worried about. I'd be more worried that Rachel's blood, sweat, and tears were on the copy of the book.
Well, so I get the comment all the time that I was worried about the science. Then I read the book and you explained relativity and I actually understood it.
Cool?
Thank you. Right.
That's cool. I mean,
it is cool
hearing something like that and like having it click where I think certain topics are intimidating or they've been just, it's just that perception and that it's an important element of Bend in the Stars, but don't get hung up.
Yeah. And then we can talk about instead this question of when do I run and immigration and why are you running? And then that really becomes the center of the conversations, many conversations that I've had. And I love hearing other people's stories, whether they've been running from Europe, South America, Asia. I've heard all stories from, it's devastating, but people are still running for their lives, right?
And want to share their stories. Yes, they are running for their lives. I mean, do you have are people sort of writing in their stories? Are you collecting these at any level or different way? There are different ways to run too. And where are you running from yourself? Are you running? What are you running from? And having the history, like right now, of course, you'd say, well, you run when this happens or that happens. Like, I don't know. None of us are running from this because we can't leave, but it's.
Mm-hmm. But you don't know. I mean, if you're in the moment, right?
You don't. In hindsight, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So actually. Yeah, so I tell this story. I grew up with these two great aunts who used to come every Friday night for dinner and they would call me over. I think I've told you this story, right? And they would say, they would say, where's your passport, right? And your emergency money. And I would always ask them, how do I know when it's time to run? And they would always say, you'll know. And that's not really an answer. And yet
it's a Jewish answer. That's what it is.
It's a Jewish answer. But you can't mark it. You can't say, the day Hitler is elected, because when Hitler, you didn't know.
Right.
Nobody knew it was coming, right? So how do you know when it's time? It's a terrifying question.
It is a terrifying question because also there's a sense of denial or head in sand or not having anything to compare to. And if you're watching a movie or reading a book, you're thinking, leave, don't go back to that thing, or he didn't love you anyway, so just go, or whatever, because we're reading it through the lens of what we now know. But I was even thinking about, not to compare, but a little, like the beginning of all this, some people would say we didn't know, be May 12th and we'd still be doing this. I would say I'm not surprised, but that was sort of my outlook at the time. But right now, if you said, it's going to be September, October, July, I mean, I know they're opening things up, but who knows where that goes. So so I do know where my passport is, but I can't go anywhere. And it's that it's just also interesting to contemplate. And that's the thing about books, making you think, and the what ifs, and the central part of the story, and what speaks to a reader in a way. And that's the best part about that discussion. Like, what are some of the other, before I let you go, because I don't know, somehow these segments are going really quickly, and Amy Lou is on at 2:30. So I'm like, and I'm not looking at my phone because somebody will be keeping time or something, and I don't need to know that, but because I'll figure it out. But
and also I could talk to you all day. I love talking to you, Robin.
Talking to you too, and I'm thinking of your two aunts now, which I love. Those are the stories. I mean, weaving family stories into novels and things that we can all relate to. Many depending on whatever the background, but there are some stories that are so familiar in any iteration. And that's why I think we have, more in common to talk about, than not. But what's another tidbit besides the fear of relativity and explaining that? What else is something that you quickly squashed any fear of?
Well, really people, I wouldn't call it a fear, but people give me a lot of feedback. I've read a lot of World War II novels. I've never read a World War I novel. And so then we talk about it, right? And I get questions, was it really that bad living in Russia in 1914? And the answer is yes, it was terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. Was it that bad compared to, right? I know.
Anywhere. I mean, it was terrible. And so I love the conversations around, the end of Tsarist Russia and the start of World War I and what life was like, because we just don't think about it. I guess Hollywood hasn't given it enough attention, right? So in books, so we know a lot about World War II, not World War I. And that's been fascinating.
Yeah, the Amy Lou's book, right, is about World War II. That's what we're going to be talking. We went from, it just happened to work out that we're going from World War I to World War II on A Mighty Blaze today. But it is, and people are hungry for that, a piece of history they haven't really been thinking about as much. And yes, and the First World War, which is amazingly, over 100 years ago, but doesn't feel like that when you're reading a story, because it's so relatable.
Right. Well, because the emotions of love, right, and the survival are still, the emotions are all the same.
Yeah.
So, and one other thing that's been really fascinating is, so in A Bend in the Stars, there's the pursuit of science, right? It's still this pure idea. In 1914, there's a purity still before war breaks out, right? And before the world changes, arguably for the worse, right? Because the war that Hannah Arendt, the philosopher, says has never really stopped since then. And so that purity, then I love talking about that because there's a faith in human ability, in the truth that's in A Bend in the Stars, this pursuit of the truth. And that theme I love and I concentrate on. But then in my next book, The History of Time Travel, which is coming out in December of 21, we have sort of corrupted science, and it's a post-atomic bomb. The bomb is built in the book. And then so you take the same science used in relativity that discovered in A Bend in the Stars. And then in History of Time Travel, my characters, 3 generations of women, try to go back, they build together the time machine and go back to save the family and stop Chernobyl, to stop the science that started in A Bend in the Stars.
You have like that yin yang. I mean, that is very clever. So then you can, if somebody, heaven forbid, had missed A Bend in the Stars, it's a great compliment, right? So that comes out in December.
Well, because I'm also obsessed with it, with this idea.
Right, what you're obsessed with, what keeps you up, what are the what ifs, what's important to you. I do have to let you go, but give us one of the books that you are loving right now, or something you're binging on TV. In case
okay, so a book that I'm doing Mighty Blaze. I'm the debut editor. We're brand new and it's super fun. And I get to read a bunch of books early, which is newer for me, right? You've been doing it for a long time. But I just finished Migrations.
I didn't
Charlotte McGonaghy, and I loved it.
I didn't read it yet, but we do have, that does look familiar. Yes, we do have.
It's a new cover, I think. This isn't going to be the final cover, but I loved it. And then
they sent me, yes, I think I was sent something I think, is it August?
I think it is August. Yeah. And then also, and I just finished reviewing and interviewing for the LA Review of Books, Imbolo Imbue. I'm not sure if that's how you say her name.
Yep.
Right.
Her book comes out now in July.
You're beautiful. Yeah. Her next book is gorgeous. She wrote Behold the Dreamers, and it was everywhere. And I love her next book. So those are my 2 recommendations.
Forward to that one. Those are 2 great ones, and put those on your list. And whoever is it Jenna, whoever's will definitely they do such an amazing job transcribing all of this and leaving the ums and likes out, which we really appreciate. But yeah, that book was supposed to come out, I think, in May, and I think they pushed it. I have a bound manuscript.
It's pushed a long way out because Yeah, because I interviewed her for LA Review of Books. So that
Ah.
one's, and they pushed it way out.
Right, they did. You know, a lot of things I have to check everything before I pick it up because I'm trying to go in order. But I was so desperate for that book because I love Behold the Dreamer so much. And
Me
then
too.
have I read it yet? No, but it's
Oh,
here.
it's really good. It's really good.
I know. I can't wait. Can't wait to read
You'll
it.
get to it. You'll get to it.
I hope so. No, I will. I will. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you, Robin.
Pub Day, Paperback Pub Day, Rachael Barenbaum, A Bend in the
Yay.
Stars, yay, on behalf of A Mighty Blaze. And I will look forward to chatting with you again soon. And
Thank you, Robin.
very exciting. I'm so glad this all worked. Yay.
Yay.
And bye.